This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin with the latest on a potential rail stoppage that is already having an impact on the movement of goods and supplies in Canada. More than 9,300 workers at both Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railways could be locked out as early as tonight. Some shippers have already started diverting goods away from Canadian ports as calls grow for the federal government to intervene. But the Prime Minister says it is up to the railways and the union to come to terms.
My message is very straightforward. It is in the best interest of both sides to continue doing the hard work at the table to find a negotiated resolution.
The federal government has already rejected a call for binding arbitration. A rail shutdown would stop the shipment of about $1 billion a day worth of goods in this country. Well, here in Manitoba, farmers are bracing for the potential of an unprecedented rail stoppage. But as the CBC's Josh Crabb reports, the impact is already being felt.
For the first time, the country's two major rail companies, CP and CN, could be in a labor stoppage at the same time. Industries, businesses, and farmers fear the economy will be paralyzed if a deal can't be reached.
This will shut down not just agriculture, but the whole economy. Everybody will feel it.
Wheat Growers Association President Gunter Jochum farms more than 6,000 acres just west of Winnipeg. He says farmers and elevators rely on rail to get their crops to market. If trains stop moving Thursday, crop storage could quickly become a problem and producers could face financial challenges.
If we don't haul, we don't get paid. We have huge bills from growing this crop that we need to pay here in the fall. It's a catastrophe.
It's already been a difficult year for Manitoba farmers with a wet start to the growing season. Some crops have bounced back with the hotter, drier weather, but this latest challenge comes just as harvest is getting underway.
We're already seeing the impact at elevators where we're being, cautioned that they don't have the capacity to hold grain or take delivery of contracts in some cases.
The Western Grain Elevator Association says its members move roughly $50 million of product per day. Crops that Executive Director Wade Subkowich says won't reach customers without trains running.
People ask us, can you not move it by truck or by some other mode? It takes about 300 trucks to replace one train. And so, even if it were economical, which it's not, there just aren't enough trucks to move the product.
He says grain elevators have been trying to get as much product to port for shipment, but with the deadline fast approaching, they're now winding down operations. Jochum worries if a deal can't be reached, he won't have enough room in his grain bins to store his crop.
Possibly pile it on the ground, which is a terrible option, but we've done it before.
He wants the federal government to intervene by sending the matter to binding arbitration or introducing back-to-work legislation. Josh Crabb, CBC News, near St. Francis Xavier.
We're learning more about a triple homicide just outside of a small western Manitoba community. RCMP say the three victims were related to the suspect's estranged partner in what police call a horrific act of intimate partner violence. The CBC's Mike Arsenault has the story.
Homicide detectives spent most of the weekend at the scene of a triple homicide in McCreary, Manitoba, trying to put the pieces together. Today, they identified the man responsible for the killings.
Marlon Glover, a 41-year-old male, forcefully entered the residence of a 37-year-old female. The entry was targeted, and the male and female were known to each other through a previous relationship.
RCMP say Glover's estranged partner managed to escape the home and hide in the woods, at which point Glover left the house and went to his estranged partner's family's home.
He then killed the 66-year-old female, a 65-year-old male, and 35-year-old male found in the residence. These were the parents and brother of the female.
RCMP say all three victims died from gunshot wounds. Glover left the home and died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound shortly after. Court documents show Glover's estranged partner filed a protection order against him in November of 2023 after a 15-year relationship she described as toxic. The protection order required Glover to submit all firearms and ammunition to a peace officer, and RCMP confirmed they seized 2 guns from Glover.
We're also aware that a firearm was used in this senseless act of violence. This is an aspect that still remains under investigation.
In a court hearing, Glover's estranged partner expressed concern about getting the protection order. She said, "I'm just worried that with me going through the court, that he's either going to, I don't know, he's unpredictable. I don't know where his head would be at." Court documents show that Glover breached the conditions of the protection order 5 times in November and December of 2023. Charges for all of those offenses were stayed. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, a surprise policy change by Premier Wab Kinew. The NDP government plans to allow municipalities to opt out of not only the Winnipeg metropolitan region, but also the planning framework dubbed Plan 2050. Kinew says the legislation will give municipalities and taxpayers more freedom. But as the CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, the city of Winnipeg and some developers are not happy.
The Winnipeg metropolitan region is made up of the city and most of its neighboring municipalities. This region was created by the former PC government and had the task of creating a planning framework for what used to be called the Manitoba Capital Region. The plan was supposed to coordinate development in Winnipeg and 17 surrounding municipalities like this one, the arm of McDonald. The future of that plan is now very much in doubt. No fewer than 5 of Winnipeg's neighbours, including the city of Selkirk, expressed opposition to the plan. Some want no part of it, fearing a loss of autonomy over their own land use decisions. Others want it amended or scrapped. On Tuesday, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew granted their wish.
When the legislature resumes for the fall sitting, we're going to introduce a freedom bill to bring freedom to the municipalities who want out from the Winnipeg metro region, this big planning exercise.
Leaving the region also means leaving Plan 2050.
Basically, this is something that was forced by Pallister and Stephenson. This is a Pallister-Stephenson special. For the city of Selkirk, which opposed its involvement in the metro region from the beginning, this came as a vindication.
This is a good opportunity, a good option for those who would like to go in a different direction.
The city of Winnipeg is less enthused. Mayor Scott Gillingham says a lack of regional coordination places the Winnipeg area at risk of losing out on major employers to Minneapolis, Calgary, or even Saskatoon. In a statement, Gillingham said Manitobans want to know all levels of government are working together, not against each other, whether it's through an amended capital region plan or a different agreement. Lanny McInnes, who represents developers who've spent 5 years working on this plan, says he wants to know what the Kinew government will do to replace Plan 2050.
We do need a regional plan so that we can stop competing against each other as municipalities for scarce government resources, for infrastructure, for funding, and collaborate and pool our resources so we can attract more development.
Kinew suggested municipalities can make land use decisions on their own. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Police are investigating after a threatening email was sent to more than 100 Jewish organizations across Canada. Here in Winnipeg, Jewish leaders say 4 city synagogues were targeted. Sherry Zedek Synagogue was one of the places that got the email. The congregation is currently using the Temple Shalom building during renovations at its building. The threatening email said bombs were hidden inside. Rena Sector Elbaz says she was not surprised to receive that threat.
There's a terrible climate of hatred right now. Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, they have had physical threats to their building. There was firebombing, there were stones thrown, there was shooting into windows. So I wasn't surprised. It was just, when is our turn?
Synagogues, Jewish community centres and hospitals in Toronto, Ottawa and Montreal also received the same threat. Winnipeg police say the 4 synagogues that were threatened have been searched and have been deemed safe. Wildfire crews are making some progress on the massive wildfire that's burning near Bunabonabee Cree Nation. That fire forced over 2,500 people to leave the community. Right now, the fire is between 9 and 10 kilometres from the community. The Manitoba Wildfire Service says the fire is roughly 40% contained. Hot, dry weather, though, continues to be a factor.
Our crews had a challenging day yesterday with temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius, using several helicopters to bucket some of the hot spots on the fire, but the crews were successful in keeping that fire contained. It didn't grow in size.
Meantime, people who live in Marcel Colombe First Nation are now being allowed to return home. The fire that was burning near that community is deemed under control. Well, it is the largest class of medical students ever at the University of Manitoba. The class of 2028 was honored today during a welcoming ceremony. And some of those students who got their white coats say they hope to work in rural communities. The CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of...
Someone in this crowd reading the Physician's Pledge today could be your doctor in the near future. The University of Manitoba welcomed its biggest class yet into its College of Medicine Wednesday. Among those 140 students is Kelsey West of Lake Manitoba First Nation. West says he wants to serve the Interlake region. He was inspired by a doctor in his community who treated 3 generations of his family and hopes to make that same impact.
I'm rural and I live in an Indian reservation, and the doctor shortage affects everyone. Me, I want to go back and I want to serve my community and I want to serve my region because we need doctors, and reserves are no exceptions.
Classmate Codley Boshintella also has rural Manitoba ties. His family was sponsored by the Morden United Church to come to Canada as refugees years ago.
Going back to the community and just broadening the access to care, I think that would just be great.
During last year's election campaign, the NDP promised to hire 300 physicians in rural and northern Manitoba within their first term.
Don't scatter beyond Manitoba. Don't do that. Stay right here.
Manitoba's health minister says staffing up those areas is critical.
Where you live in our province shouldn't determine the quality of care that you receive or how you can access care.
While it won't be students from the class of 2028, the province says it will hire 100 physicians this year. The health minister says they hope to provide an update on that goal in the near future. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, still with healthcare, cancer treatment in Russell is expanding. The new Community Cancer Care Centre officially opened today. Officials led a tour and a ribbon cutting of that new space today. It is 4 times bigger and offers more treatment space than the old facility could. Volunteers from more than 15 communities spent 10 years fundraising almost $2 million to build this facility. The province provided an additional $700,000 for construction. Dale Stewart was diagnosed with cancer in 2017 and had to travel more than 4 hours to Winnipeg for care. She changed treatments in 2022 so she could stay closer to home.
That's why this is so important. If we have a type of cancer that can be treated and can be treated here in our home, that's what this is all about, instead of the travel and what it takes up of your life.
The health authority expects to see around 800 to 1,000 patients there per year. Researchers at the University of Manitoba are working with a Northern First Nation to develop a smart vegetable, one that has the characteristics to combat health conditions like diabetes. But they're also battling unfamiliarity with the vegetables and concerns about so-called fake food. Karen Pauls explains.
So these are broccoli sprouts. These are actually...
This sci-fi looking lab is what's known as a vertical smart farm.
We grow up to day 10, harvest, and then package, ship down to Winnipeg.
And there's no soil?
No, it's the same thing. This one is cheesecloth. The one that we use for the beds is urethane sponge.
Full spectrum LED lights mimic sunshine.
Just gonna water these guys. Give them
Artificial intelligence controls temperature, moisture, carbon dioxide, and nutrient levels.
They're looking at different wavelengths and different times of growth to see when is the best time to harvest them so that they will be the most nutritious.
Yes, that's correct.
Researchers have found stimulating production of specific compounds in vegetables like potassium and manganese makes these veggies more nutritious than grocery store produce.
Typically 2 times to 11 times higher, right? Especially the manganese was very high. Then they can consume much less, but they still same benefits.
Almost half of the adult population in this remote northern community is suffering from type 2 diabetes. Leaders say there's an average of 3 diabetes-related deaths every month. And part of the challenge is encouraging people to cook and eat these smart vegetables.
I'll be honest, the first 4 months of working here, I didn't really eat the product because I was scared of it. There's a lot of stigma that we were met with. People were like, oh, it's artificial, it's fake food.
So, food scientists developed recipes, cooked them, and brought a meal to the local shopping mall.
Would you like to try some chili with kale? You don't notice it that much,
and then we just have some sage and kale cornbread muffins.
This is breakfast.
Those green bits aside, these taste testers give the recipes a passing grade.
Excellent. Tastes more healthy, more natural. Yeah, that's what I think.
Have you ever eaten kale before?
I don't even know what that is.
Kale, first time trying that, and with everything else, it's great.
Do you think you might cook with this more often?
Yes, for sure.
The goal is to educate people on how smart veggies contribute to a healthy diet and ultimately save lives. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Opaskwayak Cree Nation, Manitoba.
Well, that leads us to a look at our weather forecast. Another hot and humid one here in southern Manitoba today, but breezy as well today, and we'll see the winds picking up. Here's a look at some of our temperatures as we head into the evening hours here. 27 in both Brandon and Winnipeg, 30 degrees at the moment in Dauphin, where we have seen some heat, 27 in Thompson right now. Churchill's at 28 degrees. So we have the air quality advisory in northeastern Manitoba still for God's Lake and Island Lake, but I want to bring your attention to that yellow shaded area. That severe thunderstorm watch has just been issued for the bulk of northern Manitoba there, including Thompson, Flin Flon, Lynn Lake into Brochet to Dooley Lake and along the Hudson Bay coast as well. We could see some severe thunderstorms as we head into the evening tonight. We have seen a few rumbles of thunder across the south today as well, particularly around Grand Rapids, where we did see a severe thunderstorm warning issued earlier in the afternoon as well. But by and large, Dauphin south into the Red River Valley, we've been under a mix of sun and clouds today, a bit of a breezy one, as I mentioned. Those winds will continue as we get into the day on Thursday. So we're looking at that chance of thunderstorms tonight still across northern Manitoba. Along this main area of low pressure that moves in, a good chance we could see some showers, though, into the overnight hours. Particularly, you can see in the Brandon, Boissevain, Killarney region, we get that chance of showers here in Winnipeg closer to the early morning hours, say 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. But a good chance I could still see some scattered showers generally across southern and central Manitoba, even into parts of the north as we head through Thursday, clearing and back to a sunny sky for Friday. We're looking at temperatures of 27, 26. We did reach that 27-degree high in Winnipeg throughout the afternoon today. Still a chance we could see some thunderstorms through northern Manitoba, as I mentioned, in the Pas as well. Looking at the next few days as we get into the weekend, we're looking at those scattered showers in the morning tomorrow for Winnipeg, 25 degrees. Could see winds gusting up to 50 throughout the day tomorrow, 40 and 50 kilometer-an-hour gusts across the Red River Valley into the Interlake for the day tomorrow. Friday, looking at a high of 28 degrees, a mainly sunny sky as well. Then the heat and the humidity returns for the weekend, and we have a chance of showers on Monday as well. I'll have your 7-day forecast coming up a little bit later in the show. Still ahead for us tonight, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has left the Middle East with little progress on ceasefire talks to end the war between Israel and Hamas. The very latest on that story just ahead. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. We're back after this. Well, the U.S. is pushing for a ceasefire agreement and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas.
On the fierce urgency of now. This needs to get done, and it needs to get done in the days ahead, and we will do everything possible to get it across the finish line.
Negotiations are supposed to resume tomorrow in Cairo, but today an Egyptian mediator said that Hamas would not agree to the current proposal. Hamas claims Israel has been adding demands. Blinken says Israel has accepted the proposal. The urgency to reach an agreement follows Iran's threat to retaliate for the killing of a Hamas leader in Tehran. Moscow has come under one of the largest attacks by Ukrainian drones since the start of fighting between those countries in 2022. Russian officials say all of the weapons headed toward the capital were destroyed. The drone attack comes as Ukrainian forces continue pushing into Russia's western Kursk region. This is Ukrainian video of that assault. Russia says it has shot down dozens of drones that were sent from Ukraine, including ones that had targeted Moscow. Meantime, Canada has pledged more than $6 million more in humanitarian aid for Ukraine. The bodies of 5 missing passengers that have been reportedly found aboard a super yacht that sank off the coast of Sicily earlier this week. The bodies are being removed from the capsized boat and taken ashore. The luxury sailboat was owned by the wife of U.S. tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch. Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter Hannah are among those listed as missing. A Canadian who was on that boat as a chef died in the sinking. His body was recovered early on in the search. 15 people managed to escape safely. The yacht was caught in bad weather and went down in about 50 meters of water on Monday. It's thought that vessel may have been hit by a waterspout. Still ahead, I'll have a look at your 7-day forecast and, of course, your dog walking forecast and a daily lift that, yes, has to do with animals as well. All that when we come back. Quickly wanted to show you tomorrow's forecast temperatures. I showed you today's earlier by accident. I made a mistake. It happens. 25 degrees tomorrow in Winnipeg, 27 in Brandon with those scattered showers. Really across southern and central Manitoba. Best chance of showers in the north tomorrow through the afternoon as well. 22 in Thompson. All right, now here's the dog walking forecast. And this one is Sasha, courtesy of Marjorie. Thank you for sending this picture in, Marge. You can send your pictures to talkback at cbc.ca. And we're looking at a breezy day tomorrow, 19 first thing in the morning. As I mentioned, up to 25 in the afternoon tomorrow and sunnier conditions by the time we get to the evening, but those winds stick around. And then we're back into temperatures of 30 degrees for the weekend under the sunshine and breezy conditions as well, and a chance of showers on both Monday and Wednesday. Well, it wasn't a regular day of paddleboarding for two women off of Vancouver Island. They had a surprise hitchhiker while they were out on the water. That is our daily lift tonight.
Ui, qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Isn't this cute? One of the women said she was initially worried that the sea otter was trying to escape a predator, but the little creature showed no sign of distress or injury or anything like that. They kept as much distance as they could and steered the paddleboard back to shore and gave the animal a bit of space to get back into the water. Now, Fisheries and Ocean says encounters like this are rare, even though sea otters do occasionally inhabit and swim through parts of Vancouver Island like this. The DFO says we shouldn't get too close or disturb their habitat, though. Isn't that cute? I really like that. Leave wild wildlife alone. Don't feed them, but they do make for cute encounters and cute pictures like that especially. That is our show for this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us. I'll see you again tomorrow at 6. Have a good night.